Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk about empathy marketing, how to stand out in the crowd. I'm Lizzie Hoffman, the marketing manager here at TowerData, and joining me today are Katie Intrater from TowerData and Cory Snyder from Maropost. We'll get to intro them in a little bit, but housekeeping first while everyone joins. This session is recorded, so just a heads up, feel free to sit back, relax, no need to take any notes. You're going to receive the recorded session after we finish up, probably within the next couple of days. You can ask questions at any point in time. There's a questions option in your GoToWebinar module, so feel free to drop those in there. We'll get to those at the end of the session, so just hang tight. And if we don't end up getting to your specific question, we'll follow up individually after this. So that's kind of general housekeeping. Welcome. Empathy marketing, how to stand out in the crowd. So for those of you who want to know a little bit more about TowerData and Maropost, who may not know about us, TowerData, we're a leading provider of proprietary data-driven email solutions for digital marketers. And Maropost, well, they're the leader in e-commerce and marketing automation software. So now that you know a little bit more about the companies, I would love for Katie and Cory to introduce themselves. So Katie, why don't you start?
Sure. So I'm Katie Intrater. I'm VP of Business Development here at TowerData. I've actually been at the company now for 8 years, which is crazy. But my role is to bring in new business as well as to manage some of our strategic partnerships like we have with Maropost. So Cory?
Yes, thank you. Cory Snyder, VP of Partnerships, Channel Sales for Maropost. I don't have the tenure Katie does at Maropost. Very few people probably do, but yeah, so I have had the pleasure of really working for Maropost over the last year and a half to build their relationships and partnerships and really understand who are the best integrations and what do our customers need. And so that's what I do is I say I'm on the partnerships or on the relationship side of partnerships and building those relationships and tying them all together. And so that's where TowerData and Maropost come together. And created this opportunity is heavily voiced by our customer database, actually.
I love it. This is a long time coming for us to collaborate on something like this, so I'm really excited. Specifically with this agenda that we have today, it's going to be awesome. So we're going to start with what is empathy marketing, get into some ways that you can understand the people behind the email, talk about re-engagement programs, and then ways to really preserve your sender reputation with clean data. So I think we're going to kick it off with Katie, right? Let's start with you. What is empathy marketing and why is it important?
So I think, more than ever before, it's imperative that you add emotion and empathy into your marketing strategy. And especially over the past 2 years, the world has just changed dramatically. So, understanding where people are in their lives now and marketing to them, accordingly will resonate so much better than the kind of marketing I think that we were doing prior. So really, the main goal of empathy is to create a connection between your brand and your audience.
Completely agree. And one of the things we wanted to really dive into today was specifically how empathy equals understanding your audience, equals your engagement of your audience, which eventually equals sales. And we do that by the separation from your own opinion, right? Your opinion does matter, but in the sense of understanding the data, which we'll talk about in a minute, observation, understanding again what data, who, when, where, and why, and then images that specifically matter to that end user that's receiving this marketing. And without having these things in play, you really can't be an empathetic marketer at all, unfortunately.
So we thought it would be fun to kind of start with some great examples of how empathy can actually be used in your campaigns. So the first one I think we all can relate to from JetBlue, where they show this example of what not to do while flying these days. And I don't know about you, Cory, but I've seen some very weird stuff in the airport over the past couple of years. And so the way that they use humor to communicate the rules, I thought was a really creative way to sort of accomplish their message. And then in this next example, it does a really great job of connecting with a certain age range. So most college kids, they're looking for a shortcut. They don't want to put in all the time and effort. And so Quizlet does a really good job of sort of acknowledging this, but then also providing them with a really great option to help save them time and study even more efficiently. And then lastly, I'm sure we all remember these extra gum commercials where they basically tell a story of a courtship that sort of turned into this engagement. And this simple story does a really nice job of sort of conveying that gum is more than just your average treat. You know, it's something that can be shared with both your friends, your family, or even a stranger. So you're essentially taking a very sort of simple everyday item and you're weaving a story around it. And I thought that was a really nice sort of way to do that. So, you know, first and foremost, I think the most important way to use empathy in marketing is by understanding who that person is behind an email address. And the perfect way to do that is by putting yourself in their shoes. So in this example, it's another really great example. This beauty company acknowledges that we're all very busy and sort of stretched for time. So, you know, based on age, they basically suggest different beauty products and list how long each of them take to apply. So it's a really great way to sort of sell while personalizing, all while kind of relating to your customers' specific lives. So in order to understand the person behind the email, you have to know their demographics. So adding things like age, gender, marital status, presence of children, you know, those really help you to put the most relevant kind of images and copy and content around who they are and exactly what their household looks like.
And so what you do is you take all that data. So now we've collected all this information, and you want to be an empathetic marketer. You want to put yourself in a position to where you're delivering the right message to the right audience at the right time, right? And it can be a bit overwhelming, right? And so we're going to talk about how to easily collect that information. But once you have it, here are two examples of the exact same email that we call dynamic content. And dynamic content, again, demographics and household information is really just the beginning to what we want you guys thinking about, what we want you collecting: age, favorite color, birthday, location, family dynamics. And the family dynamics piece specifically, we're going to showcase here. And there's two exact emails. The biggest difference you'll notice is on the bottom. What we've done, we've basically been able to collect information based on, again, what they're actually clicking on or purchasing and applying that to the email. So in this scenario, on the left, you're going to notice that it's a newborn. Their family dynamic changed and they have a newborn. So we're able to take that, apply an image specific to that customer, that prospect, to be able to be that empathetic marketer to show, hey, we're listening and we care, listening in a good way, not a creepy way, in a good way. And then on the second email, we apply, hey, dynamic. In my family, I have 5 kids, and so the dynamic changes compared to necessarily a newborn. And so that's how we like to apply it, is being able to give them the messaging and apply the messaging to them specifically. And you do that by, again, collecting all this information about them and enhancing that data.
Absolutely. So another sort of common theme that I saw during the pandemic with a lot of my clients were their customers becoming unengaged with their brand. And so, you know, this example I thought speaks really well to kind of how you can re-engage with your customers. So it's a menswear company, and they re-engage and sort of empathize with our change in lifestyle and wardrobe needs at this point. So instead of pushing kind of their typical suits or button-up shirts, they're now focusing on casual wear. And even I loved this part, they sort of relate by mentioning the fact that this outfit is going to look great on Zoom, which Cory and I were talking about before the webinar started. What do you wear, you know, to these Zooms and, you know, go-to meetings? So I thought that was a really nice way to sort of reconnect with their audience. And so how do you do this re-engagement, right? So with our open data service, we can essentially decipher which emails are active and opening elsewhere, but maybe not with your brand. And so basically, you're going to pull your inactive file, and we're going to flag for the last time that those email addresses opened in the past 30, 60, 90 days. And then once you've identified that subset, it's the perfect opportunity to send a win back or a re-engagement campaign, because, you know, empathizing with why they may have become unengaged is a really great way to connect with your customers as to where they are sort of in their lives now.
Completely agree. And that's where that integration and the relationship with TowerData is so valuable, being able to take the data that they're able to collect and pass us to the recovery stage. And what we call that is data-driven decisions. Our goal is to have our customers have a data-driven decision. But initially, you're probably going to go off assumptions, but as time goes on, as you collect more and more information, you collect more and more data, you're going to be able to make that data-driven decision. Say that 10 times fast. And so it's data plus automation equals revenue. And that's the way we want you to think about it, is how to be an empathetic marketer is by collecting all this information, understanding your customer and prospect database, and then that turns into data. And once you have the data and you know who they are and you're starting to market the way that you should with your open data and your click-through data and everything else, that allows you to apply automation effectively, which in then turns revenue, but revenue based on the customer and what they want and what they need.
So, you know, with all of these great solutions, the most important thing is to have that clean and deliverable database. I mean, you can't market effectively, you can't add empathy to your marketing strategy if you can't connect with your customer base. So it sort of goes without saying that the most important thing you can do is to stay on top of your deliverability before it's too late. And we, like Cory mentioned, we've got a great integration with Maropost for this particular service, as well as the other services that we've talked about today. But basically, the way that validation works is we run each email through a 4-step process. So first, we're going to catch and correct any spelling or syntax errors. Second, we're going to look at the domain of those emails to make sure that those domains are deliverable and that we've seen them before. Third, we're going to flag for toxic emails, so things like spam traps and complainers. And then lastly, we're going to send that SMTP ping. And so the output are going to be the different validation codes that sort of allow you to understand, okay, these are the emails that are invalid, undeliverable. They need to go into our suppression file. And then these are the most deliverable emails. And this is what we're going to focus on marketing to moving forward.
Who loves paying for emails that don't go in the inbox? No one, right? I mean, you like to have a clean list. You like to be able to send emails to the right inboxes and get great inbox placement. And that's where clean data is the best data. And I think everybody on the call would agree. And here's some examples of what validation has done for some of our customers specifically. You know, one of our customers, they were able to reduce their bounce rate by 90%, which is massive, especially with how many senders are actually on Gmail, right? Again, open, clean data means inbox placement. You tie that with empathy and dynamic content, and now you have revenue, right? And you're not spending a bunch of money on emails that you actually don't even go to the inbox. Juno by 40% bounce rate reduced. Opt Online bounce rate by 22%. You kind of get the idea, is leveraging validation reduces that bounce rate, getting you better inbox placement and better deliverability. And validating your emails is just one step in the process of making that even more successful. And again, data-driven decisions.
And saving you money.
And saving your money, which is clearly, for me, it's important. And this kind of all wraps up into this painting we want to paint. And so this funnel is that painting. And ultimately, the goal is leveraging everything we've talked about is how you become an empathetic marketer, right? If you have clean data, you're getting better information back from your customers. You're getting better information back from your prospect database. So you're able to know your customer. Who are they? What are their interests? When are they opening emails at the best time? All of that kind of good stuff, which allows you to have a very effective re-engagement email and automations. And that's kind of the key to empathetic marketing, or empathy marketing, is having all of these things together and leveraging the relationships like TowerData to be able to tie all these things together for our customers and their customers, and making it super successful for you in the end.
All right.
So short, sweet. Short and sweet.
Very short and
Short, sweet, to the point. It's like you guys know what you're talking about or something. Like you talk about this all the time.
Yeah, you can only shove it down their throat so much about empathy marketing, right? So
right. Oh my gosh. There are a few questions, if you guys don't mind. Do you have a little time?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay, sweet. So one question that came through the chat was, What about staying out of the promo tab? We talk a lot about staying out of spam. We talk a lot about staying out of like the trash can, just essentially. So what about this promo tab in Gmail?
So that's going to be obviously a deeper question, a deeper response. But ultimately, the more that you can have very specific tailored content, and the content is clean, and again, validation, you validated that information, the more you're going to get those opens, the more you're going to get that engagement. So we consider that to be domain reputation as well. So the better your reputation, the better you're going to get the inbox placement, the better you're going to stay out of that promotional tab. But we normally go case by case. So every customer that comes on with Maropost, you get associated with a customer success person that helps you actually look at your marketing. We have a deliverability person that also gets tied to your account, so we can really understand how you're actually delivering those emails. So it's a little bit deeper answer, but one of the best ways to do that, again, is by making sure that you've cleaned your data, and you have clean data through TowerData. And then on top of that, you're actually sending and tracking what the customer is opening and clicking. And the more you do that, the less you're going to get pulled in that promotional tab. We also have things like rendering that allow you to see how much of a spam trap this might actually pull, which will, all those things tied together with individuals that have been around for a long time, many years at Maropost, will help you kind of potentially get out of that promotional tab and moved into the actual regular inbox. Hopefully that helps answer your question. I'm not sure if Katie has anything else additional to add, but.
No, I think that's great.
Sweet. And then another one, so we've talked about this integration between TowerData and Maropost. There were a couple of questions about what are some of the specifics of how the integration actually works between TowerData and Maropost?
Yeah, so basically the way it works is you've already got your Maropost credentials. So you would create an account on our dashboard, and then using your Maropost credentials, you would be able to pull the lists in for the different services. So whether you wanted to validate the emails, add demographic data, add the open data like we talked about, you could run all of that. And then your option at the end is you can either download those results and look at them, or you can push the results right back into Maropost. So it's completely up to you, but we are trying to make it as seamless as possible and secure and sort of, you know, protecting your data as much as possible with that integration.
Nice. And I guess talking about the integration in the data, Cory, do you have any follow-up on that? Sorry.
No, I mean, the integration's the key to really helping us tie those two together from a clean data perspective, right? And our customers are eating this up because, again, it's not about number of contacts in your database. It's about how many emails that you actually send and get delivered.
Absolutely. Well, and on that topic too of what we're sending, delivering, and talking about who we're sending and delivering to, there's a question about the enriched data. So how is it collected and validated per se? I feel like Katie, you may have this one.
Yeah, sure. We get that question all the time. So the demographic data, we're basically aggregating it from both kind of online and offline sources. So think, you know, people are going and filling out surveys, they're signing up for newsletters. There's also sort of that offline data, the, you know, signing up for catalogs, there's public record data like census information or homeowner data. And so what we've done over the past, I don't know, 8 to 10 years with this particular solution is we're taking all of that data in, we're normalizing it, and then we've got algorithms in place to make sure that we're confident that a particular data field matches one-to-one to an email address. And once we're confident that it does, that's when we would return it as a match. So, you know, the match rates for all the fields are going to be slightly different. You know, gender is going to be around 80%, age is going to be maybe around 50%. So the fields are going to kind of fill differently, but again, they're all going to have sort of those, you know, steps and checks in place to make sure that we're confident in those matches.
Nice. And then I got one more, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
This one's a little interesting. So someone is saying that, for example, Etsy sends an email around the holidays every year asking you for essentially permission if they're allowed to send this to you. For example, they say that I know Mother's Day is difficult for some people. Is this okay to send you this content? Is this something you recommend doing outside of an institution in the world like Etsy? Or what do you guys think?
We have customers that send those messages all the time, and that's part of, again, understanding your customer. It's understanding their needs and their wants. Whereas, so I'll give an example, my mom's already passed away, but I have my wife who's also a mother. And so it's that dynamic of maybe they don't have another spouse, and so Mother's Day is tough for them. The same thing applies to Valentine's Day, honestly. Like, what if you're single on Valentine's Day? You hate those messages, right? And so it's the same concept of, do you want to receive them? Do you not want to receive them? Another one that we see often as well is how often do you want to hear from us?
Mm-hmm.
And so they've set up a variable of saying, oh, I want to hear from you 3 times a week, once a week, or once a month. And it's just being an empathetic marketer and saying, how often do you want to hear? Because I actually do care. And so if it's only once a month, I really need to make sure that my marketing is super powerful and that I'm tracking what they're doing. And so that example is a great example, but it applies to so many different instances and so many different scenarios that are outside of holidays even. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
Nice. All right. Well, I think that rounds it out, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us and talk about empathy marketing. Everyone in attendance, thank you for attending. If you want to get into contact with either Katie or Cory or both, we have their information on the screen here. You can also scan these real fun QR codes that we whipped up. I think we're going to be using those in the future with our presentations and stuff, more with Maropost, I hope.
Yes.
But again, this recording will be available within the next couple of days. So don't worry if you missed anything. We're going to send it your way along with some great follow-up info. So thank you, Cory and Katie. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun. Thank you, guys.
Right. Have a good one, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.